we started the program today by talking about the economy. Now let's talk business. How about that? Like the idea of business? Okay, well, she's still busy seething over that one. Well, the availability and access to business development service providers for public and private sector is essential for SMEs to learn and acquire new skills regarding marketing, operations, management, resourcing, technology, and innovation, and the whole works. To give us some more perspectives on how to remain steadfast in providing the necessary business guidance for MSMEs to help grow the Nigerian economy, we have with us in our studio here in Lagos, Wahid Olagunju, who is former acting managing director and CEO, Bank of Industry, as well as chairman, National Steering Committee on Business Development Service Providers, BDSPs. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Also, we have Peter Bamkole, who is Director, Enterprise Development Center, Pan Atlantic University. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Thanks for joining us. As well as Monday Ewans, who is Director, Enterprise Development and Promotion of SMEIDA. He joins us from Abuja studio. Thanks for joining us. Mr. Bamkole is on Zoom. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation this morning. Let me begin with you, Mr. Olagunju. Give us some perspectives about what we're talking about here, because business development service providers, what does it mean, really?
Also known as small and medium enterprises consultants.
Okay.
These are highly skilled professionals who support entrepreneurs to actualize their vision, potential and current entrepreneurs to actualize their vision. Current entrepreneurs are generally referred to as brownfields. Those are those who are already in their businesses. They might not be doing well. They might not be able to realize their full potentials because of some challenge, because of some lapses in their businesses. You did touch on some of them. Marketing challenges, it could be technological challenges, it could be problems with their business model, it could be having to do with their keeping their financials, which is a major challenge that most SMEs are faced with. So the BDSP support them to strengthen them to ensure that their businesses are very well managed. That's as regards brownfields. Now you talk about potential entrepreneurs, those who have a vision, those who have something in mind that they want to do, but they don't know how to go about it. So BDSPs support them in producing what we call bankable business proposals. It doesn't mean that every business entrepreneur must go to a bank for funds, but bankable means just a way of ensuring that the business is viable and sustainable, because you can raise your funds from family and friends, you can raise your funds through equity investors, and you could raise your funds through debt. In other words, usually funds coming from debt or equity. So you have to ensure that the business is well structured and you have a good business model in mind. Then there's another leg of potential entrepreneurs who do not even have an idea of what they want to do. So BDSPs generally play advocacy role as well by sensitizing people, potential entrepreneurs, to the business opportunities in their environment. We've had a lot about narration about how endowed Nigeria is in many respects, but most people do not know how to convert effectively and efficiently areas in which you have comparative advantage into competitive advantage.
Which is the bane of many small businesses, you would agree.
Correct.
There are those who say that, the average lifespan of a business in Nigeria is 5 years. If you can survive 5 years, then you have a potential to survive. This BDSPs thing you're talking about, is it a new philosophy, or is it something that's been on ground that people have not been aware of?
It's not a new philosophy. It's been on, right, in business management all over the world. But in Nigeria, statutorily, the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEIDA, is mandated with the responsibility of accrediting BDSPs in the country. Then financial institutions, too, have realized the need to have BDSPs. For example, the Bank of Industry, around 2014, 2015 or so, decided to enlist about 120 BDSPs across the country. Because the major challenge facing financial institutions is that they're normally faced with poorly packaged applications from SMEs. according to studies conducted by KPMG and EDC in 2019, the rejection rate is almost about 90%.
Because you would have seen a lot of that when you were in the Bank of Industry.
Yes, I'm speaking from experience and position of knowledge. So I was part of the team. Actually, I was EDSMU at that time when the BDSP schemes were introduced at Bank of Industry. And it was one of the tools we used in growing the credits to SMEs at the Bank of Industry from an annual average of 1.8 billion prior to my appointment as EDSME in 2014 to 28 billion by 2018 when I left the bank December, right? That gave us an annual average of about 7 billion. So you can look at the, so the BDSPs contributed amongst other tools that were deployed to ensuring that, because when you have good BDSP to package your proposals for you, it reduces the turnaround time at the bank. Because usually most of the requirements that the banks need to take investment decisions would have been provided for the BDSPs. Exactly.
Yes.
And then it also enhances the approval prospects as well when you have good BDSPs.
Okay.
So sometimes in 2020 or so, the Honorable Minister of Industry and Honorable Minister of State for Minister of Industry and Investment Meeting inaugurated the National Steering Committee for BDSPs. And I was appointed as chairman of that steering committee, which includes the Enterprise Development Center of the Pan-Atlantic University, the Cardinal Business School, and many other establishments. So we are responsible with accrediting BDS, because in the country too, there are also a lot of fake and quack BDSPs.
Well, let's
collect money from SMEs, poorly prepared proposals, and those proposals don't meet the requirements of financial institutions. So we are streamlining all this.
Yeah, most certainly. We can't let you go without ensuring that you get this done for us. But before let's continue. Bring in Mr. Evans, Mr. Evans, who is who is Director, Enterprise Development and Promotion at SMEIDA. Now, exactly what, in your opinion, are the SMEs contending with, especially with this BDSPs not being on the board until now? Can you hear me, Mr. Evans?
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Yes, good morning.
I'm happy to be part of this program this morning.
Yeah.
And of course, business development service providers are key to development of the MSME subsector in Nigeria, because they need direction, quality direction, technical direction. And then these BGSPs are expected to have that technical skill to support them. They are supposed to have be abreast of every diagnostic tool to support them. They are also supposed to be aware of the environment, know exactly what is happening in the MSME ecosystem. And of course, before now, the agency has recognized that it is proper and fine to support small businesses, and the BDAPs are there to support the small businesses. And of course, we're also worried about the quality of support, because these days we have a lot of people calling themselves BDSPs. They are not qualified, they are not professionally qualified, they don't have the technical ability to support BDSPs, to support MSMEs. In this regard, the MSMEs that are supposed to be supported are shortchanged. They are not given value for their money. They are given substandard services. And of course, what that means is that once MSMEs are not having quality service, it will also affect their operations and also ultimately affect their contribution to the GDP in terms of job creation, wealth creation, and poverty alleviation. So the intent of SMEIDA is to make sure that we have a quality BDSP ecosystem in Nigeria to be able to support small businesses to the best of their ability, to the best of their professional ability, so that MSMEs will have that quality, will have that ability to support the growth of the economy in terms of jobs and so on and so forth. So the major challenge the MSMEs have with BDSP is the issue of making sure that the people that support them have the quality, have the talent, have the professional attitude to be able to support them the way they are supposed to be supported in the economy.
SMEIDA support small and medium-scale industries? Mr. Evans, did you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
Yes, I said, in what way or ways does SMEDAN support these small industries, small and medium?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. If I hear you well, you're asking in what ways SMEDAN supports the MSMEs in Nigeria.
Correct.
Of course, the agency was established by an act of the National Assembly called SMEIDA Act 2003, and it has been amended so far. And then the major objective of that act is for SMEDAN to support the development, facilitate the development of MSMEs in Nigeria, making sure that they're in a position to support the economy with job creation, wealth creation, and poverty alleviation. And of course, the act that established SMEDAN has several powers and several functions enshrined in the act. But from our day-to-day activities, we operate on about 5 platforms. The first platform is called that will support the small businesses with credible information. Information that relates to how to start a small business, how to run a small business, how they can access resources needed to start or scale their businesses, resources like finance, market, equipment, technology, and so on and so forth. The second platform is what we call delivery of a business development service, which includes issues related to capacity building, counseling, mentoring, and advisory services. Of course, for SMEDAN, our key area is entrepreneurship training and development, which essentially people call having the power to have business management skills. And of course, the top platform is that we encourage clustering and networking. Clustering in the sense that when small businesses come together, they're able to have access to common facilities, have access to knowledge, have access to skills, even markets, and so on and so forth. And then networking is also key, because with networking, you can have access to finance, additional knowledge, additional skills, and so on and so forth. Of course, the fourth platform is what we call policy and public advocacy on behalf of small businesses. And of course, under this platform, we have developed the first ever national policy on MSMEs. Of course, it was developed in 2007 in partnership with UNDP and other stakeholders. Of course, the policy was all renewed last year, approved by the Federal Executive Council, 17th March 2020. And of course, this policy is to support all those challenges affecting small businesses, issues related to lack of access to finance, legal, regulatory issues, skills, markets, technology, and so on and so forth. So this document is there to give ways and skills to make sure that these challenges are ameliorated for small businesses to grow the way they're supposed to grow. And then finally, the agency supports, facilitates access to some of these critical resources that small businesses need to grow. Issues like access to finance, markets, technology, workspace, and so on and so forth.
Well,
and of course,
I'm tempted, Mr. Elwans, my apologies. I'm tempted to take you in a whole lot of trajectories, because the question that I believe Alero is asking is, look, how do you even, well, part of the question would be, how do we situate SMEDAN as a development agency for micro, small, and medium businesses in the light of all of the myriad of duties and levies that literally kill them? But I'm not going to ask you that today. Let's focus on BDSPs. Mr. Bankole, help us situate, this. On the one hand is the need for these BDSPs, as we are discussing. On the other hand is the potential or not, or otherwise, of some of these investments even seeing the light of day or surviving on a long term. Some of them are just ideas. Some of them may not even be sustainable from the very thought of them. Developing them, is an issue on its own. What are the things that people need to know in order to take advantage of this? Because there are those who will say the business environment itself is stifling enough. To add the extra costs of business development service providers, I can't afford it. What would be your take?
Okay, thank you very much for welcoming me to this program. You know, we can say the same about every single sector. The cost of healthcare is so expensive. We don't have what it takes. Are we not going to go to the hospital or the clinic? Sorry, that's not the way it works. You know, for the same reason, the cost of hotels is very expensive, so I'm not going to stay there if I need to. I think what the BDSPs are, what we are trying to do with BDSPs is to assure the small and medium businesses that if you need to contract them, you know what you are getting into. And so Monday talked about the quality of services that they deliver. What we did was to look for the best of curriculum to help us to streamline the quality of services that these people will provide. And then they went through a process of accrediting them, which of course Wahid Olagunju chairs that particular steering committee. Now, that means that if you say, I want to buy a one-star service, you will get a one-star service. If you want a five-star service, you will get a five-star service. But at least you know what you are paying for. You know, you can never say, knowledge is too expensive, so let me stay with ignorance. That is precisely what this is all about. That for us to be able to take them out of the low level of operation that they are doing, we need somebody that is experienced to handhold them and take them to that next level.
Okay.
And we have seen this in the last few years. We run a program. Yeah, sorry.
Well, I just wanted to quickly follow because we don't have so much time, but I want to see how much you can put in. Most micro businesses, and I'm sure Mr. Olagunju, maybe you as well, might be able to give us some figures in that regard, are there just for people to live by the day. There are those of them who may have a thought about scaling up, but the mere thought of scaling up for them comes to naira and kobo. So how do we get them? Because if we don't develop the micro, small, and medium enterprises where Mr. Olagunju referenced earlier, we are literally lip-serving the idea of economic growth if we do not develop micro, small, and medium businesses. So in order to even get people who are literally subsistence business people to the level of sustenance, what do we need to do to get them to get that information across?
You know, let me give you a very good example that was shared just a few days ago. In Balogun area, there is a young man that was selling popcorns. He was selling it in makeshift gadgets. And then in less than 2-3 months, this guy had to open another outlet around CMS. And then in less than another 3 months, he opened another one in Tunumbu area. Now, this guy started with himself. He was just selling popcorns. But then he knew and he found out that people actually saw it as a very good snack to run by. It was clean enough for the average person to buy. And as soon as he got that, and he got advice, of course, from maybe some random people, in less than 6 months, he already had 3 small outlets. This is precisely, and when he had the 3, he had to employ people, of course, to man the other 2. It is very important for us to understand that the micro people, it is not that they don't have ideas or they are just waiting for somebody to hold their hand a little and to reassure them about certain things about businesses. And that's all. Meanwhile, 99.5% of MSMEs in Nigeria today, the numbers that we have, they are micro. So it is important for us to pay attention to those micro.
Okay, Mr. Olagunju, how do you all select the SMEs that you work with in BDSPs? Yes, BDSPs.
Yeah, there are 2 approaches. One, like Peter said, you wait until an entrepreneur approaches you.
Okay.
To say, I need challenge, I need to apply for a loan in the bank, or maybe I've applied. I didn't get the loan.
Yeah.
And now say, let's see the quality of application. Then we'll help you prepare a proper application, take you to the bank. If you're able to get the facility, also hold your hand.
And all this service for free?
No, I was coming to that. I was coming to that. At the Bank of Industry, when this was embarked upon in 2014, the bank incentivized the BDSPs for the SMEs. The bank paid for the services.
On their behalf?
Yes, on their behalf.
Okay.
They tied to successes, right? If the loan is approved, a certain percentage is paid. If it's disbursed, a certain percentage is also paid to this was negotiated with the BDSPs. But of course, for big companies, they are free to negotiate with the BDSPs on their own. On the other hand, BDSPs also have advocacy roles, because we cannot just wait until they come to us, because the magnitude of the responsibility at hand. Look at youth unemployment, for example. We're looking at about underemployed and unemployed, about 40 million people. To create jobs for them, you need probably to establish 1 million SMEs every year, assuming that 1 SME generates 4 jobs. So how do you ensure that you create potentially viable and sustainable, because you talk of mortality. Yeah. You have to ensure that they don't collapse after 5 years, like you mentioned. Because
so
they survive.
How do you select the SMEs that you help them?
So we now go out, for example, as a consultant, I go to trade fairs, I go to shopping malls, I go to so many events, and I engage and interact with entrepreneurs. I talk to them. I go to conferences. Like 2 weeks ago, we had a conference in Lagos of BDSPs that was facilitated by the Atlantic University, SMEIDA, and other development partners. So many current and potential MSMEs were there, and we discussed with them. So through a program, that's why we are here today as well. We're expecting that through a program like this, those who watch the program, listeners, will be able to approach BDSPs. Okay. They can even approach channels and say, look, how do we get in touch with these BDSPs?
Is there a hub? Maybe like a website or some way that people can reach BDSPs?
Of course, yes. Like the SMEIDA website we talked about. Okay. Just Google it. The provision is there for you to be able to reach the National Steering Committee on BDSPs.
So if you have a small business and you're looking for help, here's your chance.
Let me ask a slightly funny question, Mr. Olagunju. Have you, encountered anyone where, you meet this person didn't even know that he had a bankable business? Have you had such encounters?
Of course, yes.
Oh, wow.
When you start talking to them, that's our response. That's part of business development. Incidentally, before I became ED SMEs, I was also ED business development, right? And there are a lot of schemes we entered into. For example, with the NYSC, we had the Graduate Entrepreneurship Fund, and then we also launched the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, where we sensitize a lot of youth. Like the orientation program in Ekpaja, I think in 2017, 2016 or so, we got Mrs. Bukwa Oshika, former chairman of First Bank, to come and address them as an entrepreneur. She now told them how she used to work in a furniture company and how she drew inspiration, how she started producing chairs from her father's garage until late Taya Adedoku and Foladiola Anku discovered her, and they mentored her and they supported her. So such people, role models, we use them to engage.
And tell stories of success.
Success stories.
We have just about 3 minutes to end this conversation, but let me ask Mr. Evans. Now, for those who are not even aware, who have been trying to do a small business or the other over the years, and they don't know, what for you is the success rate of the development of micro, small, and medium businesses in Nigeria, at least from SMEIDA angle, and how, in your opinion, will this initiative of BDSPs help to change the figures? If you can do that in 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you so much. Of course, the last survey we did with MBS, we had about 39.6 million MSMEs, and they contributed about 46.31% to GDP. And of course, to grow these numbers is something that must be done. And of course, the platform we're having right now is to make sure that BDSPs and MSMEs come together so that we can grow these numbers. It's only the time we grow these numbers that we can have effective contribution to GDP in Nigeria, to exports, and so on and so forth. And of course, SMEIDA is doing a lot of things to support small businesses in Nigeria. We are doing what we call one local government, one product program. We are doing conditional grant scheme for micro enterprises. We're also doing what we call the National Business Skill Development Initiative, another program to support small businesses, to grow them, to scale their businesses, to make sure that we have an effective contribution to GDP and other parameters in this country.
Okay. You owe me 30 seconds. When I see you in Abuja, I'm going to collect it. But Mr. Bankole, let me ask you one question that I didn't want to ask, but I'm just going to have to ask it because it's one of those things that you would agree stifle these small businesses, and that is these duties and levies. So those of them who complain, and they literally groan under it. How does this BDSP initiative help to change that paradigm?
Okay, thank you very much. You are absolutely correct. The levies and taxes and all kinds, we counted them. It was almost like 39 in some states. But the reality is that there are waivers on different things, and the BDSPs usually will be aware. For instance, this year, depending on how much you are making as a small business, you may not even be liable to paying tax for this year. That has already been legislated. There are many little things that the MSMEs may not be aware of, but the BDSPs will be aware of because of the professional work they are doing. Okay. That's why sometimes maybe you pay a little to actually gain a lot more.
Okay. Well, Mr. Lagunju, so where do we go from here? And what are the prospects for you within the next 1 year, 2 years for SMEs?
We are going to be proactive. We'll be mining, for instance, the data available in the telecom space. Most of us use these phones just to talk, but there's a lot of things we can do in the age of digitalization to promote and organize MSMEs in Nigeria. At the last count, we're looking at 154 million subscribers to the data of the telcos in Nigeria, maybe about 200 million phone lines. We can pass a lot of messages through them. That's what we plan to do next phase on a proactive basis. These phone business models, that means they have some purchasing power. It's pay as you go. We need to do an analysis of the demography. How many of them are women? How many of them are youth? What do they do? That suggests some financial inclusion. That suggests some business inclusion. We need to organize them better, perhaps the cooperatives, to strengthen them. Because according to PwC, 65% of the Nigerian economy is in the formal sector.
Absolutely.
We need to bring them on board. If we bring them on board, that will also increase, for example, the taxable net.
I was hoping you would not say that, Mr.
No, but
it is the reality, yes, but I was just hoping.
That is the reality. Because the Nigerian economy is grossly undecimated.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of things are happening that are not recorded, that are not captured.
Yeah.
But if we integrate them, that will also mean they will contribute to the micro pension scheme. That will also mean they will subscribe to insurance products. And we're looking forward to the insurance sector and the pension sector to generate long-term funds required to finance, for example, the National Development Plan.
You see, that tax part, I don't think the MSME has to carry
And it gets wider and
No.
wider.
Not company tax now, but pay as you earn.
You are correct. You are correct, but nobody wants to hear taxes.
But if the services are rendered, people are willing to pay.
Thank you very much for being a part of our conversation this morning. Wahid Olagunju is a former acting MD CEO of Bank of Industry and Chairman, National Steering Committee on Business Development Service Providers, BDSPs. Thanks for joining us this morning. Monday Evans is Director, Enterprise Development and Promotion at SMEIDA. He joined us from Abuja. Thank you so much for your time, as well as Peter Bankole, who is Director, Enterprise Development Center, Pan Atlantic University. He joins us virtually from Lagos. Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Something is happening on Monday, and we want to talk about it now. Because by next Saturday, to be like, how many days after that? Too many days.
After the fact.
And that's where we began with the mother tongue and vernacular thing. We'll be right back.